South African rugby legend Joost Van Der Westhuizen has died at the age of 45. His charity organisation, J9, announced his death earlier on Monday. He played test match rugby for the South African national team, the Springboks. Van Der Westhuizen played in the 1995 World Cup final when South Africa defeated New Zealand. The story of that World Cup was later made into a film called Invictus. Van Der Westhuizen fought a 5-year battle with motor neurone disease. Well, let's speak to TRT World sports correspondent Lance Santos, who joins me now from the studio in Istanbul. So clearly a very sad day for the rugby world. He was one of those players who really changed the game.
Well, absolutely. As you say, a very sad world, not just for the rugby world, but of course the whole sporting world in general. Joost Van Der Westhuizen was one of a kind. And remember his position, scrum-half, normally occupied by a much smaller physical specimen than Joost Van Der Westhuizen. He was the first guy to come in that was tall. He was big, he was fast, and he made tackles. For South Africa, for the Springboks in particular, now you must remember that they were only, in '95, they'd only been allowed on the international circuit for a year after they were banned due to apartheid. So for South African sports fans growing up, myself included, being a youngster, you used to watch Joost Van Der Westhuizen dart around the pitch, his steely determination, and also that icy cool look that he gave afterwards in interviews. So he was really one of South Africa's first real big global superstars of the game. And I think that was felt around the world. The likes of Wales, he terrorised opposition defence. And I remember post-match press conferences with Welsh captains saying that they'd never seen anything quite like him before, just the sheer size of him and the way that he could kick, run and pass all at the same time. And he, of course, was part of that South African '95 World Cup final winning team, as you mentioned earlier, made into a Hollywood movie. And I think if you look at that '95 World Cup final, Joost was the beating heart of that team. Of course, Hollywood made Francois Pienaar the captain and Nelson Mandela the heroes there. Of course, they were. But in terms of gameplay, Joost Van Der Westhuizen really was right in the thick of it. And if it wasn't for Joost Van Der Westhuizen, I think the whole team would agree with me on saying this. They would not have won that match. He single-handedly stopped the absolute beast that was Jonah Lomu at the time, 3 or 4 times in the same game. So Joost will be remembered, of course, as an absolute legend, bringing the 1995 Rugby World Cup trophy to South Africa.
Yeah, he was certainly a remarkable character, Lance. So he also leaves behind a great legacy in terms of the charity that deals with the illness that he had, motor neuron disease.
Yes, of course. And I think most sportsmen rarely get the chance to be a hero twice in their careers. And that's exactly what Joost Van Der Westhuizen did. We spoke earlier about his prowess on the rugby field and all of the success that he brought to South Africa and the Blue Bulls, of course, his club team. But it was afterwards, shortly after a very public breakup with his wife at the time, splashed all over the front pages of South African magazines. He was then, a year after that, given the news that he had this incurable disease. Now, Joost was only given a year or so to live, and of course he outlived that, and he set up the J9 Foundation. Now, everyone in South Africa will know exactly what that is, and around the world, Joost has contributed so much to making people with the same disease, making their lives a lot easier. And I think that part of it is what Joost will also be remembered for, being a hero on the rugby pitch, also having all that setback. He was a real person, and he bounced back after all of that setback. And he said, if he died tomorrow, he would still be a happy man given what he's been able to achieve on the rugby field and also for his charity. So a remarkable character.
Indeed, both on and off the pitch. Lance, thank you for that. Lance Santos in Istanbul there.